Hello everyone, Michael Brady here from Brady Musical Instruments. If you've seen the prior announcement video released yesterday, where I will be officially exhibiting at the 2025 Boston Early Music Festival next week. This is going to be at the Collonade Hotel in Boston next Wednesday through next Saturday. You know that the remainder of this week leading up to the event is going to be an ocarina extravaganza. It's going to be 5 different unveiling videos, one day after another, with new ocarinas that are going to be on display at that exhibition. So during that exhibition, I'm going to have a total of 19 ocarinas from 8 different batches, 3 prior batches that I've unveiled from ocarinas that haven't sold yet, as well as 5 new batches. So this video is the first of the unveiling marathon for this week. So without further ado, I'm pleased to give a first look and listen to batch number 7 of high-end wooden inline ocarinas from Brady Musical Instruments. So over the course of this video, I'm going to be going over the different ocarinas in this batch, going over the backstories behind each of them, the wood selection for each, the nuances in playing, give some sound samples, and then a full song demo right at the end. So diving right in, this batch definitely has a very unique backstory for the ocarinas. This is a particularly special batch and quite a varied one for a number of reasons. So this batch consists of 3 alto A4 ocarinas. These are serial numbers 3, 4, and 28. So this batch actually consists of the very first official ocarinas that I've worked on. So really early serial numbers. I haven't released these ones earlier because when I'm working on ocarinas, the order that I serialize them doesn't necessarily mean it's the order that they're announced or released, especially because sometimes ocarinas need a lot of rework to get them to where I want them to play. And this was particularly true for this batch. So this batch actually consists of 2 of my oldest ocarinas and 1 of my newer ocarinas, but they all share some interesting backstories to each of them. So for the first 2 earlier ones, as I've mentioned in my prior videos on the A4 specifically, the A4 size is by far the most difficult size ocarina of the inlines for me to voice. Just for the 19-note range, for the 11-hole 19-note range, inline ocarinas become exceptionally difficult to jump to that last note, and balancing the tone and playability and quality across their range. They're incredibly demanding to voice. I typically have to revoice them multiple times. I have to rebuild them multiple times. I've mentioned in the prior video dealing with the custom A4 Madrone Burl ocarina, which was sent to Japan. That was one of a couple of hell batches that I had that the thing gave me a tremendous amount of challenges. Well, these first 2 ocarinas, number 3 and 4, is another one of those hell batches. They're absolutely just obscenely brutal to get voiced right. When I had first started making the ocarinas, I had explored different depths of the size and different depths. I had explored a few different woods. Sticking with the small size first because I figured it was easier to prototype and make small ocarinas much faster. And I was both very right and horribly wrong. I was very right because they're smaller ocarinas. It's less wood to craft, less to carve out and deal with physically, but very wrong in the sense that these ended up being monstrously difficult sizes, a monstrously difficult size to start out with. It set me back a lot. It really pushed me to the edge, but it also forced me to get very good at voicing very quickly. And learning kind of, I would say, the hardest size to voice first has really helped me refine my deeper sizes much easier and much quicker. So jumping right in number 3 consists of 5 different woods. And number 3 and 4 really helped define the ocarinas that I make today. So it was really these two that the current methodology evolved from. So number 1, actually, I never really finished. I still have to rework that one. It does exist, but I haven't really had a chance to rework that one yet. Number 2 was finished, but it was a really early prototype. I really don't like it, and is really different from these for a number of reasons. But number 3 and 4 is where the current design really kicks off from. So the depth, for example, for all my ocarinas, for my inlines, the depth of the body is 1¼ inches. And then with the 1/4 inch top, that makes these about 1.5 inches total thickness. So these two ocarinas started out much thinner. They started out with just the base wood. And through the voicing procedure, I found that it was impossible to voice them to where I wanted with the much thinner body. So I decided to build up the body with the laminations, and it ended up helping alleviate some of the issues. And that's partly what started the developments of the laminated bodies, ocarinas that now almost all my ocarinas typically have the laminations, not only to provide contrast, but also to build up to the right thickness. Next was the cedar mouthpiece development, which was a huge, huge development. For number 2, which was fully built, it had the full hardwood mouthpiece. So the body for the ocarina actually extended all the way through the mouthpiece. So there was no cedar mouthpiece. It was just straight solid wood, whatever the body was made from. And then the top was also one single piece. So it wasn't broken up into 2 pieces like my current ocarinas, where I have the fingerhole plate and the upper windway plate, as well as the lower windway block. There was just a solid single piece bottom and a solid single piece top. And I found that for the really tight tolerances of the windway that I use, having hardwoods for the windway was not feasible. The ocarinas would just clog almost immediately. And really, to get this range in an inline, besides all the other stuff that goes into it, one of the big fundamental things is that they have to use a highly absorbent mouthpiece. Without the cedar mouthpiece, without the redwood mouthpiece, they would not work. They would just be impossible. They'd clog up, and the high notes would just be killed off very quickly, and you wouldn't be able to enjoy it. So with the developments of the early ocarinas number 1 and 2, and playing around with this one, when I made it the first solid body on the bottom and solid top, hardwood body and mouthpiece, it just wouldn't work. It would clog immediately. And that's at that point when I decided to explore other options. I did research. Going into the recorder, I selected the aromatic cedar for the standard batch mouthpieces. And for this ocarina, I ripped off the top. I sawed the front off, and then I worked out methods for developing the alignment and the way that I craft them now. So these two ocarinas, again, really pioneered where the current ocarinas started in a number of ways, from wood selection to the thickness to the mouthpiece. So they are pretty special ocarinas. So number 3, to give a look at the woods for this one. So this uses a beautiful figured amazique. And this wood is actually leftover wood from my very first custom shoon build. So my very first custom shoon that I built for a customer was actually out of this same figured amazique. It's an absolutely beautiful wood. Has almost a tiger eye stone-like color. Really beautiful chatoyance in the and the grain works beautifully, polishes beautifully, nice hard dense wood. And the size block that I had was just big enough to make an ocarina, and at the time I had no idea what size blocks would make for what tuning. So that block really set the A4 size. Next, we have a triple lamination here. So there is wenge, maple, and wenge. So that was used to build up the thickness. So originally, the ocarina just had the bottom amazique piece, and through trial and error, I found that I needed a thicker body, so I laminated up to make the ocarina to the proper thickness. Next, we have a really nice canary wood top. So it's not figured like some of my ocarinas. It doesn't really have the chatoyance to it, but it does have kind of a nice color, and I feel like the color combination of like the browns, the cream, and the dark brown and the light brown of all the woods really ties together. It feels almost like a fall type, autumn type theme for these two ocarinas. So the canary wood has a really nice kind of yellowish striped pattern with different hues of orange and yellows and browns in it. So it's a nice wood to work with. And then finally, there's the classic aromatic cedar mouthpiece on this ocarina. So again, this was one of our first early ocarinas that ended up using the cedar mouthpiece. I sawed off the front of this. I slapped on the cedar mouthpiece for the bottom, and then I originally had a full canary wood top. And even with the bottom, the cedar bottom with the canary wood top, it was still clogged. So I decided from there on, the entire windway had to be 100% cedar, fully absorbing, and it's really enabled these ocarinas to be played at the high level that they're at now. So that was a huge development and advance for these particular ocarinas, and again, what really defines a lot of the qualities of the ocarina, the inline ocarinas that I make. So to give kind of a sound sample of number 3, this is what it'll sound like playing up and down the scale. So really beautiful, sweet, clear tone. That's pretty typical for the A4s that I make, especially being out of wood. Even though it's kind of a higher pitched ocarina, not too high pitched, but it's the highest pitch inline that I make. With the woods, it has just a really sweet tone that's not harsh or overbearing. It's comfortable to play inside. It has good projection even for outside. So really beautiful, smooth playing, balanced ocarina. Nice lows, nice bright highs, just nice clarity throughout the entire range. And again, that's what, getting that quality of the tone is what really makes these so difficult and takes so long to voice. I started number 3 and 4 back in October, and it's taken me until now to actually voice them. So I've rebuilt these more times than I ever want to for an ocarina. These have been voiced and revoiced and revoiced and revoiced over and over and over again, from the very first, ripping off the top, adding the laminations, adding the top, ripping the top off again, cutting the front off, adding the cedar front, adding the other top. I was not happy with that, so I ripped that top off again. I added the full cedar mouthpiece, and then I made another canary wood top. I still hated that, so I redid that. The next iteration around, I still did not like it. I redid that again. So this has been redone over and over and over again to an exhausting point. For whatever reason, I just could not get this to play the way that I wanted. But on this final iteration, I finally broke through. For a while, I just set these two again down in the scrap pile. I just said, I'm not touching these. I'm done. That's it. I can't get these to work. And I moved on to other ocarinas, and then through the process of learning and trial and error, I gained some new insights in the voicing process, and I went back to these and I did some work and I put them down, and then I worked on some others and I picked them back up, and I finally got to the point where I wanted. So these have had a tremendous journey to get where they are, and play to the level that I finally feel is acceptable for a high quality, full range wooden inline ocarina. So moving on now to number 4. This shares the same exact storyline as number 3. They were both built at the same time, almost the same woods, and this one shared the same trials and tribulations. The body was the same, where I had the solid mouth wenge with the body, and I chopped that off, added the cedar mouthpiece. I revoiced it. I didn't like it. I ripped off the top. I added the laminations and the new top. That didn't work with the hardwood top of the mouthpiece. So I ripped that off. I changed it again to the full cedar mouthpiece, and this went through the same exact iterations over and over and over again. I actually ended up voicing this one. This one worked a little bit better in the beginning, but I ended up finishing number 3 first. And then this one kind of followed a little bit after. So it's always a roller coaster. Sometimes the ocarinas go really well and they go horribly, and then go well, and back and forth and back and forth. And it's like 2 steps forward, 1.9 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1.9 steps back, until you finally get to where you want. So for number 4, this has a slightly different wood on the base. So this uses an absolutely beautiful piece of figured koa. And this wood was actually left over from another custom shun build. So that was a custom alto E4 shun I made for one of my best friends. That one was very special because he had requested a koa shun to match his koa ukulele. So I picked this really beautiful piece of figured koa for that build. That ended up being one of my favorite shuns that I've made. That one had a really unique voice, really unique feel, and just absolutely obscenely beautiful wood. The rich orange, the iridescence to it, really nice. And I had one piece left over, and it ended up being perfect for an ocarina of this size. So I experimented with it, and it turned into number 4 that you see here today. So like the number 3 amazique, this also shares the same lamination. So this is a triple lamination of wenge, maple, and wenge. And then it has the same canary wood top and aromatic cedar mouthpiece. So again, I really like the color combination of these two ocarinas because they do feel, when I look at them, they feel immediately like fall, like the changing color of the leaves with the, the browns, the yellows, kind of hues of autumn, kind of the orange and yellows in this, kind of the changing of the leaves. So these two kind of really represent an autumn type feel for me. Just when I see these, and I kind of associate them in my mind. So getting a feel for the tone of number 4, this is what this one sounds like. So again, really beautiful, warm sweet tone, lots of clarity across the range. I would say between the two of these, number 3 has a bit more back pressure. It's a bit brighter, more focused, I think. The Windway is a little bit narrower on the entrance, and the harder and denser wood kind of gives it a little bit of a brighter projection, whereas the Koa is it's a much softer wood. It has beautiful resonance. It really amplifies that kind of treble range. So this one has a nice warmth to it. The Windway on this is a little bit more open, so there's a little bit less back pressure on this one. Both of them play really beautifully, really smoothly. For all the hell that they've given me, I'm really, really happy with how these turned out. This was definitely worth the journey in going through all those trials and tribulations to make these two ocarinas where they are today. And the one thing that I do with ocarinas is and in general, I really hate waste. I hate wasting beautiful woods. And that's why if an ocarina fails, I don't just throw it away and start over. I salvage as much as I can, and typically that means salvaging the body. So the body, the laminations, and the bottom of the mouthpiece typically end up being saved. And I keep reworking it over and over again with a new top plate, with a new top Windway piece until I get it right, because I really don't want to see any of these woods go to waste. And if I can, I want to see every ocarina through the entire process. So these two are also kind of representative of just the sheer endurance that I have to go through in voicing these ocarinas. I don't think many people still understand just how much absurd work goes into these, and they look like relatively simple instruments, which they are very simple, but there's also this immense complexity in voicing them. I've gone over this many times, so I'm not going to go over here again, but there's just a lot of factors that goes into balancing the tone and the voicing. There's a lot of quirks and weird things about inline ocarinas, and also working with wood that makes it a very unique challenge. So for a very simple instrument, it's also incredibly complex. Finally, the last ocarina, and kind of one of the newer ocarinas that I've made, fast forwarding all the way to number 28. This is another A4, and this also has a very unusual backstory to the woods. So you can see here immediately for the woods, the body is a triple lamination. Now, typically when I make the ocarinas, I have a thicker base body and thin laminations. On this one, however, the body is 3 bands about the same thickness of varying wood. So I have a really beautiful figured bubinga. I have this incredibly beautiful curly maple, and then another strip of bubinga running around for the body. And the body of this ocarina, the bubinga maple bubinga lamination, was from another instrument build that I had done years ago. So back in 2017, I started designing and working on a super custom tsugaru shamisen, which is a 3-stringed Japanese lute that's played with a large plectrum and 3 silk strings. And that was a huge endeavor. That was a 5-year build. Every aspect of that, all the wood selection, the design, the hardware, all custom done myself, all custom designed. It's an absolutely insane build. It's gotten a lot of recognition and attention in the international shamisen community. There's been a lot of firsts for that particular build. And during the process of that build, there's the sao or the neck, which there's the headstock, and then there's a kind of a heel part, the saruo, that kind of is part of the aesthetic of the instrument. And on the first go around for building the neck, when I was laminating up the woods, I didn't do it right. I didn't account for grain direction and clamping force and other factors, and the neck ended up warping during gluing so badly that it was not salvageable. I had to scrap it and I had to make a whole new neck. So I had that neck block just sitting in my scrap pile all these years, probably 6, 7 years, just waiting around because it's a nice block of wood. Even though it had the rough shape cut out, it still could be used for something. And kind of going back through my scrap pile several months ago, I saw that the end of the block, so there's the thin neck part, and then there's the larger block at the end where the kind of the heel portion would be shaped. The block was cut out, but the heel wasn't actually shaped, so it was just kind of a solid block attached to the neck. And it turned out that that block was the exact size that I needed for an A4. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this wood a new life. I'm going to turn it into a really unique ocarina. So I sawed the heel block portion of the neck off, and I used that as the body for this ocarina. So that does have a little bit of history in one of my own personal builds. And again, goes back to the philosophy of really not wasting woods and giving life to old projects and old woods, and turning them still into functional instruments, even from scrap. And the scrap is just too beautiful to be just thrown away. So to complement that maple banding, I included a beautiful curly maple top. So this actually has the same exact theme as batch number 1 of ocarinas that was released back in January of this year. That had the solid bubinga body and the curly maple top. This one uses the same exact bubinga, but it has this beautiful, just ridiculously iridescent curly maple band in the center. And then the curly maple for the top of this is actually even more figured than the first batch. So this has the same theme, but a little bit of a variation to it. Finally, we have the standard aromatic cedar mouthpiece, and giving a sound sample for this ocarina. This is what number 28 sounds like going up and down the scale. So really strong projection. This one's kind of unique that it has really warm low and really bright highs. So this has kind of a similar response to batch number 1. It has similar kind of tonal characteristics, but I would say that this one has a little bit stronger projection, a little bit stronger voice, a bit less back pressure too. So it's a really beautiful A4 that just looks beautiful, that sounds beautiful, and it has kind of that nice combination between a warm low and a really bright high while having still like beautiful sweetness and just smoothness in playing across the entire range. So each of these ocarinas have gone through their own journey. They each have their own unique personality to them. They're all absolutely beautiful instruments. I don't think I prefer one more than the other. They all have just beautiful voicing, beautiful look. So really fantastic ocarinas overall in general. So that kind of is the full overview of this batch. So now to put things more in a musical context, like always, I'm going to do a short demonstration going through a full song. So for this demonstration, I've decided to do Eponia's song from Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I know it's been massively overplayed. I know everybody plays it. I know probably a lot of Ocarina players are sick of hearing Zelda songs being played over and over again. They're still really nice songs. They're easy songs to play. And because I'm so busy making these ocarinas, and I have just so many videos I need to pump out for this exhibition that's coming up, I just don't have the time to learn any new songs or perform anything more complicated. So please bear with me on this, that yes, I'm playing a massively overplayed song. It's a Legend of Zelda song, kind of cliche, but given the time constraints I have as a maker more than a performer, it still gives me the opportunity to kind of demonstrate the tone of the ocarina in a setting that people would be familiar with. So please enjoy this rendition of Eponia's song on one of the new Batch 7 Alto A4s. So this concludes the first unveiling video of this Ocarina Batch Unveiling Marathon for this week, leading up to the Boston Early Music Festival exhibition starting next week. Again, this is batch number 7 of high-end wooden inline ocarinas, consisting of 3 ocarinas, serial numbers 3, 4, and 28. So a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new. A whole bunch of woods. We got amazique, figured koa, canarywood, wenge, maple, figured bubinga, aromatic cedar, just a whole bunch of woods across these 3 ocarinas. Each one has their own unique charm and personality and playing characteristics that really makes them all a joy to play. And especially for the first 2 ocarinas, number 3 and 4, these ocarinas really have a little bit more history with this effort, in that they were the first ocarinas that ended up shaping the current design of the current inlines that I produce. So from the cedar mouthpiece to the laminations to the overall size. For the A4s, especially for my very first batch and moving forward, these ocarinas help really pioneer those developments. So they're kind of special ocarinas. They were very difficult to get voiced. They took much longer than typical, but I think the end results were well worth it. So like I mentioned in the prior video, the ocarinas at this exhibition will all be for sale. They'll be first come, first serve, with a priority for the in-person customers for the exhibition. So people who show up to the exhibition and want to try out the ocarinas and purchase them get first dibs. However, if you are online or somewhere else in the world and you are interested in these ocarinas but can't attend the exhibition, don't worry. they will still be potentially available for you. And what I will do is have a reserve list. So if you are interested in any of these 3 ocarinas, or any of the new ocarinas that will be coming out this week during this kind of unveiling marathon, send me a message with the serial number of the ocarina that you're interested in. I will put you on the reserve list, and if that ocarina does not sell during the showcase, then priority will go to the order of that list. So I'll reach out to you, and if you're interested, we can move forward with that ocarina, and if you're not, it'll move on to the next person in the list. I will say that there is a possibility that I might keep one of these ocarinas for myself for the time being. I am kind of leaning towards number 4 in particular. Not that it plays better than either of the other 2, not that it's nicer than the other 2, just because it's one of the earliest ocarinas, official stamped and serialized ocarinas, and really helped pioneer some of the new and current ocarinas that I've made. It has a little bit of sentimental value, and with the wood, especially with the figured koa on it, that was used for the custom shun for one of my best friends. I've come to really love the koa myself, and that has a little bit extra meaning for me, especially making that ocarina or that shun for him. So there is a possibility that I might keep serial number 4. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I will let people know who are interested in it after the exhibition happens. So if you like these developments and want to follow along more, you can see more updates on the Bready Musical Instruments Instagram page, on the Facebook page, and right here on the YouTube channel. Again, I've got a whole bunch more ocarinas coming for the rest of this week. I've got 4 more batches that'll be unveiled, so stick around and be sure to tune in for those new batch unveilings. Again, lots of woods, lots of different sizes, some really cool offerings in this mix for this very special event. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.